Welcome to the Boring Podcast. Tonight we'll calmly talk through something that happened, perhaps, or didn't. If this helps you drift off, we've done our job. Feel free to do nothing at all.
Yes, welcome. We're going to talk about something quite ordinary, something you likely encounter every day, maybe even multiple times a day. And if you don't, well, that's ordinary too, isn't it? Not encountering something. We're talking about mugs. Specifically, coffee mugs. Just regular, everyday coffee mugs. Nothing fancy. We'll just discuss them. Their mugness, the way they hold coffee, and other warm beverages. Or cold beverages, if that's your preference. We won't judge. It's all very normal.
Mugs. Yes, mugs. They hold liquids. Primarily, in our discussion today, coffee. Although tea, hot chocolate, even soup can be held within the confines of a mug, they typically have a handle. Sometimes a large handle, sometimes a small handle, occasionally a handle that is somewhere in between large and small. A medium handle, perhaps. We'll explore the subtle nuances of these handles, or perhaps not so subtle, depending on your perspective, and how they facilitate the comfortable grasping of the mug, so you can lift the mug and drink from it. The purpose of a mug: to hold liquid for drinking.
There are, you see, different kinds of mugs. Different shapes, sizes, colors. Some are wide, some are narrow. Some are tall, some are short. Some are plain, some have patterns. The variations are almost, well, not quite endless, but certainly numerous. We could talk about the material they're made of. Ceramic is common, so is porcelain, sometimes. Stoneware. These materials, they hold heat. Or coldness, depending on the liquid inside. We'll delve into these material differences. Or maybe we won't. We'll see how it goes. It's all very unexciting.
The standard mug. We all know it. The classic cylindrical shape. Often white. Sometimes off-white. Perhaps a slightly cream color. It's a blank canvas. Sometimes adorned with a logo, perhaps. Or a simple design. But often, just plain. Unremarkable. And yet, it serves its purpose. Holding coffee. Or other beverages. We'll discuss this standard mug. The ubiquitous, everyday mug. And its mugness. Its simple, functional existence.
And then there are the mugs with patterns. Stripes, dots, flowers, even pictures of animals. Or landscapes. Or abstract designs. These patterns, they add a certain something, a visual element, to the mug, to the experience of holding the mug, of drinking from the mug. We'll consider these patterns, their colors, their shapes, their patternness, and how they subtly, or not so subtly, alter the mug drinking experience. It's a complex topic, or perhaps not. We'll just talk about it. Slowly, calmly.
We could talk about the thickness of the mug, how it affects the way the heat transfers to your hand. A thick mug might retain heat longer. A thin mug might cool down quicker. These are important considerations. Or perhaps they aren't. It depends on your perspective, on how much you care about the temperature of your beverage, and how quickly it changes. We'll explore these subtle variations in thickness, and their implications for the overall mug drinking experience. It's a fascinating topic, or perhaps not.
Yes, the thickness. And the weight. A heavier mug, it feels substantial. A lighter mug, it feels less substantial. These are things to consider when choosing a mug for your coffee or other beverage. The weight, the feel, the balance in your hand. It all contributes to the overall mug experience. We'll ponder these factors, or maybe we won't. It's all very ordinary. Just mugs.
And let's not forget the bottom of the mug. The base. How it sits on the table. Is it flat? Is it slightly concave? These subtle variations can affect the stability of the mug, how likely it is to tip over. Spilling its contents. A catastrophic event, or perhaps just a minor inconvenience. We'll examine these bases, their shapes, their stability, their baseness. It's a crucial aspect of mug design, or perhaps it isn't. Less than, person one greater than, less than person one greater than, we were talking about mugs. Coffee mugs. And, well, there are different kinds. Some are wider at the top than the bottom. Others are almost perfectly cylindrical, like a tall, hollow drum, only smaller, and made of ceramic. or sometimes porcelain, or even stoneware, which has a rougher texture. It's a bit like holding a small, slightly textured cylinder of earth, and some mugs are even wider at the bottom, tapering inwards towards the top, like a reverse cone, but still with a handle, of course. I've seen those, though I'm not sure why. They seem less practical for holding, somehow. But they exist. Mugs. Different shapes.
Yes, mugs. I've noticed the handles too. They are usually a half circle, a sort of semicircular appendage affixed to the side of the mug, enabling gripping and lifting. Sometimes these handles are quite small, just big enough for a couple of fingers, maybe 3. Other times they're large enough for all 4 fingers and even the thumb to wrap around, providing a more substantial grip. And the shape can vary as well. Some are perfectly rounded, while others are more squared off, or even have a slight ergonomic curve to them. The material can also differ, sometimes matching the mug itself, other times offering a contrasting texture or temperature. It's something to consider when choosing a mug. Handles. They're important.
The color. Mugs come in so many colors. White is quite common, a sort of blank canvas for the coffee within. But then there's blue, a calming blue, like the sky, or a deep, rich blue, like the ocean, or green, from a pale pastel green like a new leaf, to a deep forest green like, well, a forest. And red. And yellow. And even mugs with patterns, swirling designs, geometric shapes, or pictures of animals like cats or dogs or birds. So many options. So many colors. Just thinking about it can be quite something. It's something to think about.
I find myself drawn to the plain ones. The ones without any decoration, just a simple, single color, sometimes off-white, sometimes a very light gray, almost indistinguishable from white, but not quite. It's a subtle difference, barely noticeable. But it's there, and it's something I appreciate. That subtle variation. The lack of adornment. It allows me to focus on the coffee itself, the dark liquid within the plain, unadorned vessel. It simplifies things. Just a mug. And coffee.
There are also sizes to consider. Some mugs are small, holding perhaps 6 ounces of liquid. Others are larger, capable of containing 8, 10, even 12 ounces or more. These larger mugs are quite substantial, requiring 2 hands to lift when full, especially if the coffee is particularly hot. It's something to keep in mind. The weight, the size, the capacity. It's a lot to consider when selecting a mug. Choosing the right one. For the right amount of coffee.
The material of the mug can also influence the temperature of the coffee. A thicker mug, made of a denser material, might retain heat better, keeping the coffee warm for a longer period. While a thinner mug, perhaps made of a finer porcelain, might allow the heat to dissipate more quickly, cooling the coffee faster. It's a matter of preference, really. How long you want your coffee to stay warm. Or how quickly you want it to cool. It's something to think about. Temperature. Heat transfer. The physics of coffee. It's fascinating, in a way.
Some mugs have a wider rim, making it easier to drink from, while others have a narrower rim, perhaps focusing the aroma of the coffee towards the nose. It's a small detail, but it can make a difference. The way the coffee flows. The way the aroma reaches your senses. The subtleties of the experience. It's these small things that can sometimes make a big difference. Or perhaps not. Perhaps it's just a mug. But it's something to consider. The rim. The opening. The point of contact.
I once had a mug with a chip in it, a small imperfection on the rim. It wasn't a large chip, mind you, just a small one, barely noticeable. But it was there, in the follow. And every time I drank from that mug, my lip would brush against that tiny imperfection. It was a subtle sensation, almost imperceptible. But it was there, a constant reminder of that small flaw, that tiny chip. On the rim of my mug, it's strange the things we notice. The small details, the imperfections.
As we were saying, or rather, as we may have implied earlier in this exploration of the common coffee mug, there's the standard mug. You know the one. It's mug-shaped, generally cylindrical, often slightly wider at the top than the bottom, though not always. Sometimes they're almost perfectly cylindrical, like a tall, narrow can without the top or bottom bit. And of course, there's a handle. We shouldn't forget the handle. The essential appendage that allows one to grasp the mug without scorching one's fingers on the hot beverage contained within. Sometimes these handles are curved, sometimes they're more straight, sometimes they're even a little bit squared off. The variations are subtle, yet they exist, and they matter, in their own small way, to the overall mug experience.
Indeed, the standard mug, a ubiquitous presence in kitchens and break rooms worldwide. It's a vessel, a receptacle for that caffeinated liquid that so many of us rely on to propel us through the day. Or sometimes, perhaps, through the night. A standard mug, with its handle as you mentioned. A handle is quite important, isn't it? It facilitates comfortable holding, preventing the transfer of excessive heat to the hand. Think about it, a mug without a handle. Not very practical. Not very practical at all. You'd have to use some sort of cloth or perhaps oven mitts to hold it. The handle, then, is an integral component of the standard mug's design. A simple loop of ceramic, yet so crucial to its functionality.
Yes, quite. The handle. We covered that. But let's not forget the very essence of the mug itself. Its mugness, so to speak. It's designed to hold a liquid, specifically a hot liquid, most commonly coffee, but sometimes tea, hot chocolate, or even just hot water. The mug contains the liquid, preventing it from spilling onto the surface below. This containment is a key feature of the mug. Imagine trying to enjoy your morning coffee poured directly onto the table. A messy proposition, wouldn't you agree? The mug, therefore, serves a vital purpose.
A vital purpose, yes. Containment. And also, heat retention. A good mug should keep your beverage warm for a reasonable amount of time. Not too long, mind you. We don't want it to stay scalding hot indefinitely, but just long enough to allow you to savor the warmth, to enjoy the experience of sipping your coffee slowly, thoughtfully, perhaps while gazing out the window or reading a newspaper, or simply staring into space. The mug facilitates this slow, deliberate consumption.
We've discussed the standard mug, the quintessential coffee vessel. But let's revisit it, shall we? It's typically ceramic, although sometimes it can be made of other materials, like plastic or metal. But ceramic is the most common, wouldn't you say? It has a certain mug-like quality, a certain heft, a certain feel in the hand. It's mug-like. There's really no other way to put it.
Yes, mug-like. A perfect descriptor. And as you pointed out, the material is typically ceramic. Smooth, often glazed, sometimes with a pattern, sometimes plain. The plain ones are, plain. Just a single, uniform color. Often white, but sometimes other colors too. Like blue, or green, or even red. The possibilities are, while not endless, certainly varied enough to satisfy most individuals' preferences.
Now, let's not forget the inside of the mug. It's usually the same color as the outside, though not always. Sometimes there's a contrasting color inside, which can add a little bit of visual interest. A small surprise when you lift the mug to take a sip. A little pop of color. It's a small detail, but these small details can contribute to the overall enjoyment of the mug experience.
Precisely. The interior of the mug. Often overlooked, yet crucial. It's where the beverage resides, after all. It's the part that comes into direct contact with the liquid. And, as you mentioned, it can be a different color than the exterior. Or it can be the same color. Either way, it serves its purpose. It holds the coffee, the tea, the hot chocolate, whatever warm liquid you choose to fill it with.
We've discussed the standard mug at some length now. And yet, there's always more to say. It's a simple object, yet so complex in its simplicity. It's a mug. It holds coffee. What more needs to be said? And yet, we can continue to explore its nuances, its subtle variations, its essential mugness. Less than, person one greater than, less than, person one greater than. Now, there's also the classic diner mug, you know the one. Thick, slightly curved, usually white, sometimes with a slight off-white hue, or maybe a very pale cream. Often, they have a little rim around the base, a slight indentation, barely noticeable really. It's functional, holds heat well, good for a refill. I once saw a stack of these mugs, and they were slightly dusty, like they hadn't been used in a while. Probably for the best. Dust can accumulate anywhere, even in a diner, I suppose. I wonder if they wipe them down regularly.
Yes, the diner mug, a staple. Sturdy, reliable. Handles large, easy to grip, even with slightly damp hands. The kind of mug that feels comforting in your hand. I think the weight of it has something to do with that. A certain heft. Not too heavy, but not light either. Just substantial. They often come in sets, don't they? Stacks of 12, maybe 16. I've seen them boxed up, ready to be used, or stored away, probably in a cupboard somewhere. Cupboards can be quite fascinating, holding all sorts of things. I wonder what else is in those cupboards.
And then we have the travel mug. Designed for, well, travel. Often made of stainless steel, sometimes plastic. A lid, of course, to prevent spills, essential for the morning commute, I'd imagine. Although I don't commute. Never really have. I prefer staying put. But I can see the appeal. Keeps your coffee warm. Reduces the risk of spillage. Though I've seen people spill from those too. Sometimes the lids aren't entirely secure. It's a risk you take, I suppose, with any portable beverage container. I once saw someone drop one on the pavement. It was loud.
Yes, the travel mug. Practical. Comes in various sizes. Some have handles, some don't. The ones without handles can be a bit awkward to hold, I find. Especially if they're particularly tall. But the ones with handles are quite convenient. And they fit nicely in car cup holders. Most of them, anyway. I've seen some that are too large. They don't quite fit. It's a bit of a design flaw, really. I think standardized sizes for travel mugs would be nice to improve compatibility. Then again, there are a lot of different types of cup holders in so many different vehicles.
There's also the oversized mug. Larger than your average mug. Good for those who enjoy a substantial amount of coffee. Or tea, I suppose. Any hot beverage, really. Often found in homes, less so in cafes. Unless it's a specialty cafe, perhaps. Sometimes they have quirky designs on them. Or they're just plain. I prefer plain. Less distracting. Although, a well-placed design can be aesthetically pleasing. I once saw one with a picture of a cat on it. It was staring intently at something, probably a mouse or a laser pointer. Cats can stare for a long time.
Oversized mugs, yes. Sometimes they're almost bowl-shaped. Wide and deep. Good for holding a large quantity of liquid. But they can be difficult to clean, I imagine. Especially if you don't have a particularly large sponge. Or if you have small hands. It might be challenging to reach the bottom. And if they're not dishwasher safe, that's another consideration. Hand washing can be tedious. Especially with oversized items. I imagine you use an unusually large sponge.
We shouldn't forget the promotional mug. Often given away at events, or as part of a marketing campaign. Usually emblazoned with a logo or a slogan. Sometimes they're quite nice. Sometimes not so much. It depends on the quality of the mug itself, and the design, of course. I've received a few over the years. I think I still have one somewhere. In a cupboard, probably. Or maybe a drawer. I have a lot of drawers. They're useful for storing things. All sorts of things, like pens, and paper clips and other things. I should really organize them sometime.
Promotional mugs, yes. They can be quite collectible. Especially if they're from a particular event or company. Some people collect them. I've seen collections of hundreds, even thousands of mugs. Displayed on shelves or in cabinets. It's quite a commitment. Dusting them must be a chore. I wonder if they use a special duster. Perhaps a feather duster. Or one of those microfiber ones. Microfiber is quite effective at trapping dust.
And of course, there's the plain white mug. A classic. Simple, versatile. Goes with everything. No fuss, no muss. Just a plain white mug. Suitable for any occasion. I have several of these. They stack nicely in the cupboard. I find that satisfying. The way they fit together. Neat and tidy. Organization is important. It helps maintain a sense of order. I try to keep things organized, but sometimes it's a challenge. Life can be messy.
The plain white mug. A blank canvas. A symbol of simplicity. You can never go wrong with a plain white mug. Unless you spill something on it, of course. Then it's not so plain anymore. Stains can be difficult to remove, depending on the substance. Coffee stains, for example, can be quite persistent. Especially on white surfaces. I've tried various stain removers, but they don't always work. Sometimes the stain remains. A permanent reminder of the spill. A small imperfection in an otherwise pristine surface.
So as we were saying, or rather as we may have alluded to earlier, there are mugs. Plain, simple mugs, the kind you might find in a cupboard, or perhaps stacked precariously next to a dripping coffee machine. These are often cylindrical, though some might exhibit a slight taper, narrowing towards the base, or sometimes, even more subtly, widening. The purpose, of course, is to contain a liquid, generally a hot beverage like coffee, though other liquids are permissible, sometimes even water. And these vessels, these mugs, come in a variety of, well, types, if you will. We've touched on this, yes, but it bears repeating. Repetition can be soothing, like the gentle lapping of waves against a shore, or the hum of a refrigerator in the quiet of night.
Yes, the mugs, the receptacles of caffeinated comfort. We talked about the standard mug, the workhorse of the morning routine. Often white, sometimes off-white, occasionally featuring a company logo or a slightly faded image of a cartoon character. These are sturdy, reliable, and generally dishwasher safe. A practical choice. And then there are the diner mugs, thick and heavy, often with a slight lip around the rim. These mugs are reminiscent of simpler times, of roadside diners and bottomless coffee refills. They feel substantial in the hand, grounding almost. And yes, we did cover this earlier, but as we meander through this landscape of ceramic drinkware, revisiting familiar ground can offer a sense of, well, familiarity, like a well-worn blanket.
The familiar comfort of a warm beverage in a familiar mug. It's a ritual, a routine. The clinking of the spoon against the ceramic, the gentle steam rising, carrying the aroma of roasted beans. We mentioned the travel mugs, the ones designed for portability, for the commute, for the on-the-go lifestyle, often stainless steel, or perhaps plastic, with a lid to prevent spillage. Practical, yes, but lacking the charm of a traditional ceramic mug. A different purpose, a different feel. It's a matter of preference, really. Like choosing between a paved road and a grassy path. Both lead to a destination, but the journey is different.
And let's not forget the oversized mugs, the ones that hold an almost unreasonable amount of liquid. For those mornings when a standard cup simply won't suffice, or perhaps for those who prefer to minimize the number of trips to the coffee maker. These mugs are often wider, taller, more substantial. They can feel heavy, even when empty. And yes, we did discuss these earlier, but it's worth reiterating. The oversized mug. A statement, perhaps. A commitment to caffeine. Or simply a preference for volume. It's a personal choice, ultimately. Like choosing between a small pond and a vast lake. Both hold water, but the scale is different.
We've talked about materials. Ceramic, of course, the most common. And stainless steel, for the travel mugs. Occasionally you might encounter a glass mug. More delicate, perhaps, more susceptible to breakage, but offering a clear view of the contents within. A different aesthetic. And yes, we mentioned this before, but the repetition, the gentle revisiting of these details, can be calming. Like the slow, steady ticking of a grandfather clock, a rhythmic presence in the background.
And colors. We touched on the ubiquitous white mug. A blank canvas, a neutral backdrop. But mugs come in a rainbow of colors. Bright, vibrant hues or muted pastels. Patterns, too. Stripes, polka dots, floral designs. A way to express personality, perhaps. Or simply a preference for a particular shade. It's a personal touch, a way to customize the everyday ritual. And as we've mentioned, repeatedly, these details, while seemingly insignificant, contribute to the overall experience. Like the subtle variations in the texture of a woven fabric. Small details, but noticeable.
Handles. We haven't explicitly discussed handles, have we? The curved arch of a standard mug handle, designed to fit comfortably in the hand. Or the larger, looped handles of oversized mugs. Essential for grip, for balance. A small detail perhaps, but crucial to the functionality of the mug, the ability to hold the mug, to lift it, to bring it to one's lips. It's a fundamental aspect of the mug experience. And as we've said, repeatedly, it's these small details that define the different types of mugs. Like the subtle differences in the shape of leaves on different trees. Similar, yet distinct.
So, the mugs. these vessels of warmth and caffeine. We've explored the standard mug, the diner mug, the travel mug, the oversized mug. We've considered materials, colors, handles, all the coming. We've circled back, revisited, reiterated. And in this repetition, in this gentle meandering through the world of coffee mugs, perhaps we've found a moment of quiet contemplation, a gentle lull in the noise of the day, like the soft rustling of leaves in a gentle breeze, a soothing backdrop to the quiet of the evening.
We've talked about the classic diner mug, the slightly more refined but still quite basic cafe mug, and of course, the travel mug in its various, not terribly exciting, forms. But what about the mugs you find at home? These often come in sets, you see, sometimes with matching saucers, sometimes without. And the sizes can vary. Some are smaller, good for a quick, not especially invigorating cup. Others are larger, for those mornings when you need a bit more. Well, more of the same, really. And the colors. Oh, the colors. Or lack thereof. Plain white is common. Very common. Sometimes you see a bit of beige, perhaps a pale blue. The point is, home mugs exist. In various forms. Not very different forms, mind you.
Yes, the home mug. A staple, wouldn't you say? Often overlooked, perhaps, taken for granted. You reach for it in the morning, perhaps without even really seeing it. It's just there, a vessel for your lukewarm beverage. And they come in those sets, like you said. Sets of 4, 6, 8, sometimes even 12. Although 12 seems a bit excessive, doesn't it? Who needs 12 mugs? Unless you have a large family. Or frequent, yet unexciting guests. And even then, 12. It's a thought. And the materials. Usually ceramic. Sometimes porcelain. Occasionally stoneware. Subtle differences, of course. Not worth dwelling on, perhaps. But they are there, these differences. In the mugs. The home mugs.
You mentioned the sizes. Yes, the sizes. Important to consider, I suppose. If you like a larger quantity of coffee-like liquid, you'll need a larger mug. Simple enough. But then there's the issue of storage. Larger mugs take up more space in the cupboard. Something to think about. Not a particularly thrilling thought, I admit, but a thought nonetheless. And then the handles. Oh, the handles. Some are small and dainty. Others are large and chunky. Some are curved, some are straight. The possibilities are, well, not endless. But there are some variations. Slight variations. In the handles. Of the mugs.
Handles are crucial. A poorly designed handle can ruin the entire mug experience. Imagine trying to hold a mug with a slippery handle, or a handle that's too small for your fingers. A disaster, really. A quiet, uneventful disaster. But a disaster nonetheless. And the shape of the mug itself. Some are cylindrical. Some are more conical. Some have a slight flare at the top. Others are straight. Like a small, unassuming cylinder. Containing a brown liquid. Or perhaps a beige liquid. Depending on your preferences, of course. Not that it matters much. It's all just liquid in a mug. In the end.
We haven't even touched upon novelty mugs. These often feature images or slogans. Perhaps a cartoon character. Or a humorous phrase. Not that they're particularly funny. Just, mildly amusing. Sometimes they're given as gifts. Birthday gifts, perhaps. Or holiday gifts. Not particularly thoughtful gifts, mind you. But gifts nonetheless. They exist. These novelty mugs. In various forms. Cluttering up cupboards. Gathering dust. Holding lukewarm beverages. Or sometimes just sitting there. Empty. On a shelf. Waiting. For something. Anything. A purpose. Perhaps.
And promotional mugs, the kind you get at conferences or trade shows, often emblazoned with a company logo. Or a slogan, advertising something. Something you probably don't need, but they're free, so you take them. And they end up in the back of your cupboard, with all the other mugs. The unused mugs, the forgotten mugs, the mugs with the faded logos, hosts of conferences past. Silent reminders of events long forgotten. Gathering dust. Taking up space. Existing. Quietly. in the darkness of your cupboard.
And what about those chipped mugs? The ones with the small imperfections. A little chip on the rim. A crack in the handle. Not enough to throw them away, of course, just enough to make them slightly less aesthetically pleasing. But they still function. They still hold liquid. Just like the perfect mugs. The unblemished mugs. The mugs without flaws. But the chipped mugs have character. A history. A story to tell. A story of quiet, uneventful wear and tear. A story of countless lukewarm beverages consumed over time. In the comfort of your own home. Or, perhaps, at the office. On a slow, uneventful Tuesday afternoon.
Yes, those chipped mugs. They hold a certain charm, don't they? A quiet, understated charm. Like a faded photograph. Or a worn-out sweater. A reminder of the passage of time. Of the slow, inevitable march towards nothing in particular, really. Just the continuation of existence. The quiet, monotonous unfolding of days. The gentle, unremarkable accumulation of moments. Marked by the consumption of lukewarm beverages. In chipped mugs. In the quiet solitude of wherever you happen to be.
We've talked about diner mugs. Those thick, heavy ones. Often with a slight curve inward towards the top. And we've touched on the standard mug. The kind you might find in a mismatched set in a kitchen cabinet. Maybe with a faded design or a company logo. But what really times a mug? I mean, it holds coffee or tea or sometimes even soup. But beyond that, it's just a vessel, isn't it? A ceramic or porcelain cylinder, often with a handle. It's quite a thought. It's something to ponder as you drift off. Just a vessel. Containing liquid. And warmth, sometimes. But mainly just liquid.
Yes, the mug. It's a common household item, often found near the kettle or coffee maker. You might have one on your desk at work. Or maybe several. A collection, perhaps. Mugs. Or simply the accumulation of mugs acquired over time. Free mugs from promotions. Mugs with inspirational quotes. Mugs that change color with heat. They're everywhere, just sitting there. Waiting to be filled. Waiting to hold something. A simple purpose, really. And yet, there are so many variations on this simple theme. So many shapes and sizes. It's quite remarkable. When you think about it. Or perhaps not. Perhaps it's perfectly ordinary.
I suppose it's the slight variations that make them interesting. Or not interesting, as the case may be. The slight curve of the handle. The thickness of the rim, the width of the base. These small details can make a difference in the overall experience of using the mug. Or maybe they don't. Maybe it's just the coffee itself that matters. Or the tea. Or whatever liquid is contained within. The vessel is just a vessel, after all. A means to an end. A way to get the warm liquid from the pot to your mouth. It's a simple process, really.
It's a function, not a fashion statement. Or maybe it is, sometimes. For some people, perhaps. Those who collect mugs, for instance. Or those who have strong preferences for a particular type of mug. But for most of us, it's simply a tool. A utilitarian object. Like a spoon or a fork. It serves a purpose. And that purpose is to hold liquids. Hot liquids, usually. Sometimes cold liquids. But mostly hot. Coffee, tea, hot chocolate. The staples of daily life. The simple comforts.
We often overlook the mundane. The everyday objects that surround us. The mugs, the spoons, the forks. We take them for granted. We don't think about them until we need them. And then, once we've used them, we set them aside. We forget about them until the next time. It's a cycle. A repetitive cycle. Like breathing. In and out. Use and disuse. Existence and non-existence. Almost. Or perhaps not quite that dramatic.
Perhaps it's the lack of drama that makes them so comforting. The predictability. The reliability. You know what to expect from a mug. It will hold your liquid. It will keep it warm. It will not surprise you. It will not challenge you. It will simply be there. A silent companion. A steadfast presence in your daily routine. A small, unassuming object. A mug. Just a mug.
Just a mug. Yes. And sometimes, that's all you need. Just a simple mug. To hold your coffee. Or your tea. Or whatever warm liquid you choose to fill it with. It's a small comfort. A small pleasure. A small part of the day. A moment of quiet contemplation. Or perhaps not. Perhaps it's just a moment. A fleeting moment. Lost in the vast expanse of time.
Time. It keeps moving. Forward. Relentlessly. Like a river. Flowing towards the sea. Or perhaps like a glacier. Slowly. Imperceptibly. Reshaping the landscape. Changing everything. And yet, some things remain the same. The mugs. The spoons. The forks. The simple things. The everyday objects. They persist. They endure. They are the constants in a world of change.
Constants. Yes. Like the gentle hum of the refrigerator. Or the soft glow of a nightlight. These things are always there. In the background. Unnoticed. Until they're not. Until they break. Or malfunction. And then we notice them. We realize their importance, their presence, their absence. It's a strange thing, how we only appreciate things when they're gone. Or when they're about to be gone. Less than / person one greater than, less than person one greater than. So we've talked about the standard mug, the diner mug, the travel mug, and even touched upon the novelty mug. And, there are others. Many others. Probably more than we could ever discuss in one podcast, or even a series of podcasts. There are mugs with handles, mugs without handles, mugs with pictures of cats, dogs, birds, even landscapes. Some mugs change color when you pour hot liquid into them, which is, I suppose, mildly interesting. But then again, not really. It's just a color change. It's a thing that happens. It's a thing that happens sometimes, I suppose. And then it just sits there, being a different color. Just like that.
You bring up a good point about the sheer quantity of mug variations. It's almost overwhelming to consider, really. The subtle differences in shape, the slight variations in handle design, the vast spectrum of colors and patterns. It's a lot to take in. And then there's the material. Ceramic, porcelain, stoneware, even glass. Each with its own unique properties, its own feel, its own mugness, I suppose. And we haven't even touched on the sizes. Small mugs, large mugs, those extra large mugs that could probably hold a small pot of coffee. It's a whole world of mugs out there, just mugs. Sitting there, being mugs.
Yes, the sizes. The sheer range of volumes a mug can contain. From a few ounces to, as you said, practically a small coffee pot. It's a lot to think about. And what about the inside of the mug? Some are smooth, some have ridges, some are a different color than the outside. Does that affect the taste of the coffee? Probably not, but maybe. It's something to ponder, I suppose, as you slowly drift off to sleep. Just imagine all those mugs. Sitting there. Being mugs.
And the bottoms of the mugs. Some are flat, some are slightly concave, some have a little ring around the bottom. Why? Is it for stability? Is it purely aesthetic? These are the questions that keep me up at night, sometimes. Not really, of course. I sleep very well. But it's something to think about. The bottom of a mug. A seemingly insignificant detail. But one that adds to the overall mugness of the mug.
Precisely. The mugness. It's an elusive quality, difficult to define, yet undeniably present. It's what makes a mug, I suppose. And it's something we could probably discuss for hours, if we had the inclination. Or the energy. But perhaps not. Perhaps we've said enough about mugs for now. Maybe, but also, maybe not.
Perhaps. But then again, there's always more to say. Always another nuance, another detail to consider. The curve of the handle, the thickness of the rim, the way the light reflects off the surface. It's a never-ending exploration, this world of mugs. And we've only just scratched the surface. Just barely touched upon the vast and, frankly, somewhat monotonous landscape of mugdom. We could go on, I suppose. But do we want to? That is the question. A question we may never answer.
Indeed. A question for the ages. The mystery of the mug. It's a thing. It exists. It holds liquids. Sometimes hot liquids, sometimes cold liquids, and sometimes it just sits there. Empty. Waiting. Being a mug. And that, in itself, is something, isn't it? Or is it? It's hard to say, really.
Yes, it is. It really is. And perhaps that's enough for now. Perhaps we've reached a point of, well, not exactly closure, but perhaps a pause, a moment of quiet contemplation in the vast, silent world of mugs. Yes, mugs. Just mugs. Sitting there. Being mugs. And that's okay, isn't it? It probably is.
Thank you for joining us. Let go of the day and drift softly into rest. There's nothing more to do, nothing more to think about. Just this moment, just your breath, just peace. Sleep well.
Good night and sweet dreams.